Now, let's get a different perspective on this and cross live to the CEO of the Israel Innovation Fund. His name's Adam Scott Bellos, and he's joining me now. Adam, thanks for joining me now. This innovation fund that you've put together, briefly, sir, tell us about it.
First, thank you for having me. It's nice to be back. The Israel Innovation Fund was started as a new type of Zionist institution in order to connect people to Israel outside of religion and politics and through Israeli culture. Our main focus prior to the war was promoting people to connect to Israel through wine. And we have a project called Wine on the Vine, where you can plant a grapevine in Israel the way for the last 100 years people were able to plant trees in Israel.
All right, sounds very alcoholic and sounds like fun for a change. Right, let's go back to the politics and the region. It's in turmoil, sir. The future of Zionism is something else that you fund, you say. Is there any place for Palestinians in the future?
If I was a Palestinian organization working to connect young Palestinians to Palestinian culture, would you be asking me, is there any future for Israelis in that?
Sure. Do you think that there'll be peace in the region once and for all, or do you think that there's going to be a big divide?
I think this will be the war of wars, and I think after this war is over, there will be peace. There will be no other option but peace. That was kind of the conclusion that the region had come to with the advent of the Abraham Accords. And as recently, MBS just said today, after this war, normalization talks will resume. So I do believe that peace is on the horizon. I believe this war was started by Hamas and Iran and all of Iran's proxies in order to prevent that peace from happening. As a matter of fact, about 72 hours before the war started, Hamas released a statement saying that Saudi Arabia entering into the Abraham Accords and normalizing with Israel meant that it was acknowledging that all of Palestine, quote, Palestine, was not all of theirs.
Very well answered indeed. I'm throwing you these harder questions this time around because last time was a bit too easy, and I appreciate your honesty. Now,
no problem.
The fighting has been going on now for about 3 weeks. We've heard that Benjamin Netanyahu is likely to sort of perhaps put down some ground forces. We haven't seen that happen yet. Do you think this is being prolonged for no reason? Do you think Netanyahu has, the rights to take his time? The longer we sort of leave it, we're looking at more lives lost. Wouldn't you agree?
I do agree, and I think that's an excellent question, actually. The reason why things are taking time is because we are concerned about the loss of civilian life. We are concerned about the loss of the lives of Israeli soldiers, and we are concerned about the lives of the hostages. So I do believe, like, all efforts are being done to remove the 222 hostages that are still being held ransom by Hamas. And I believe after that situation is finished or completed and negotiations are completed, we will be sending ground troops in. But I can tell you right now, the majority of the Israeli people do not want to see ground troops go in, while at the same time, they do want to see ground troops go in. We understand the necessity of it, but we take, Israelis hold human life in a very high regard. There's a reason why the IDF has always been called the most ethical army in the world. There's a reason why we've always been able to defend ourselves with minimal civilian casualties. There was actually a report in the UN years ago talking about how the IDF does not rape Palestinians, and the pro-Hamas side actually used that as talking about how racist the IDF is, that we don't rape women in military campaigns, which is a factor always, as you saw, not only on October 7th, but in any conflict whatsoever. So we are taking our time, but we win wars, and we do them strategically, and we do them without losing Jewish lives, which I think is the most important thing after 1,400 people have been killed.
Adam, we should say no lives should be lost, Jewish or otherwise. But thank you, sir, for joining me today. As always, a pleasure talking to you.
Of course, no lives should be lost. I completely agree. At the same time, the reality is that lives have been lost, and this is war. And unfortunately, in war, lives are lost.
Indeed, indeed. Right, CEO of Israel Innovation Fund, Adam Scott Bellos, a pleasure as always. Thanks again for your time.
Thank you for having me.